All right, guys, and we are live here on YouTube and on Twitter or X. Let's hash it out. Um, yeah, so I, um, we've been in deep discussion for about 2 hours now. I'm go ahead and bring everybody up. You probably know
Dave,
everyone here,
first of all, Dave, you're like
but
swimming in a
man,
pool of gold right now. That's all it seems
What are you
right
trying?
there. He's like
Is
tread
that a
water in a
subliminal
pool of gold.
message?
Liquid
it might
gold.
be. It actually might be, right?
Subliminal
So,
Dave.
cheers. But yeah, welcome to
So,
Let's Hash It Out. It's been an interesting, I don't know, 4 hours pre-show. And so yeah, Let's Hash It Out, episode 20. I do want to just touch on where is it? Let me get to the right screen. But I do want to show everyone the giveaway for 1,000 subscribers. I want to thank everyone who's subscribed. But
Insane.
yeah, right now it's up 18.75%.
Yeah.
So at
Become a
1,000
future millionaire.
subscribers, you get 15,000 DigiByte. So I did want to go over that just a little bit. So hit the subscribe button, do all the other like, shares and whatnot. Get this out there because today might be a little interesting. I might add. So what part do y'all want to go into? Do y'all want to go into the EU and the United States, Micah, and touch on a bit of that?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. I kind of want to kick it off with that, right?
Start.
Yeah. Look, let's set a little bit of a premise here again. We did a video, Dave, the two of us, where we touched upon that cyber security privacy shield from the EU and
the reaction video of the EU.
Yeah. And in that video, at a certain point, we laid bare a website that they used that was actually the same website from the Transatlantic Trade Agreement that was initiated in 2013 and was blown out of the water in 2016 under Obama, because there was basically one big thing that the EU and the US couldn't agree upon. And that big thing that they couldn't agree upon was the privacy of EU citizens' data hosted in the US. Anyway, it failed, and the whole thing was basically off the table. No politician at the time was allowed a quicker read than just 10 minutes in basically a 7,000-page document. So no one really knows what was said in it, but it was basically a trade deal between the US and the EU. Anyway, fast forward to now and to
That's
the time
the
of that video.
TTIP, correct?
Yeah, transatlantic trade agreement, and the TTIP, I'm going to Google that, stands for Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. And it was a free trade agreement, anyway, between the EU and the US. So today came a tweet from the Minister of Justice of the European Union, which is DJ Reinders. And he was in the US with the General Secretary General, Attorney General Secretary. I think that's the correct title. Garland,
Attorney
Merrick
General.
Garland.
Yeah.
And they voted in a few people in office, or they oathed in a few people in office. That's actually the correct way to phrase it. And his tweet was like, it was an honor to attend the oath-taking ceremony of the judges of the Data Protection Review Court in Washington, D.C., together with A.G. Garland. Well, the Data Protection Review Court in Washington, D.C. has been agreed upon as a piece of infrastructure in the U.S. that falls under the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to just specifically deal with privacy issues of EU citizens. So the fact that they've been oathed in office, what many of you should know is that when a clerky gets oathed in office, that's basically your first day, or at least the beginning of your first period. You do that in your first month. You get oathed in, and that's that. So it's the beginning of it. 6 days prior to that, we get another tweet that I found where they were basically talking in the EU. It was a different entity. They were talking about that transatlantic trade agreement again, and well, making that go live again. So there's like the College of Europe that their department hosted the opening lecture of the chair of transatlantic trade and economy, in order to evolve the context of transatlantic relations and their challenges. So it's basically on the table again. And the time that we talked about that that reaction video, when that privacy shield was agreed upon between the EU and the US, we immediately had a settlement with the SEC court case versus Ripple. We had Meta no longer having to pay their lawsuit with the EU, and they launched a new product called Threads. Then we had OpenAI of Elon Musk basically coming to the forefront, and we had X, or Twitter that changed to X, and that had to comply to EU data laws, and they did. Threads is still not operational in the EU because they didn't, but now we've got Facebook from Meta that basically has put up paid ads, so you can either get, pay and don't get ads, or don't pay and get ads. So that's the way they moved around that. Very prominent thing, I think, to talk about, because if there's a collaboration of trade between the EU and the US, then if we're moving to a digital infrastructure, we're going to move cross-border. And if we're going to need cross-border, we're going to need to comply with one another. And if we're going to comply with one another, it's kind of nifty if you got the same laws, right, that you agree upon. Because otherwise it wouldn't be in an agreement. It goes both ways. The EU has to agree and the US has to agree. So isn't it interesting, or coincidental again, that we see, that parts of that MiCA regulation that is already, worked out. It's 900 pages of legal documents, a little bit more. And in the US, you see the same thing happening at that side with dogs barking through it. No, it's just that's what happens. And you get Congress and you get the Senate that have to, along with the SEC and the CFTC, have to make a regulatory framework in the US. So it's that same Garland, that same Attorney General, that has received a letter at the end of October, which is only like 3 or 4 weeks ago, that he's been asked by a certain member of the Congress to cast a vote on Tether and Binance, basically financing terrorist activity, and if he wants to cast a verdict on that. Quite interesting, because this guy is 71, this Garland, and he's got a 100% rate. I looked him up, success rate, and he's a really a man completely by the law, super correct as they come for his entire life. He would be the perfect referee. Probably not your best friend or a guy to drink a beer with at the bar, but he's probably the best referee you want to have. But if by that definition of the type of character he is, then we can probably see the end of Binance and Tether in the U.S. market. That Tether for sure. Binance might get a slap on the wrist, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're out of the picture in the near future. And isn't it convenient then that on the same side we have more collaboration of the actual infrastructure between the EU and the US on the highest level being agreed upon? And I wonder how that will play out in the US, because it's a federal thing and states can decide upon themselves if they want to supersede the national law. And in the EU, it's the opposite. Basically, EU law supersedes national law. So that's an interesting phenomenon. That's why you see that difference in parallel. That's why you see the EU working at these things differently than the US is. But I think it's a good piece to kick off with, because it just shows that this infrastructure thing between the EU and the US, hardly anyone talks about it, but it is happening. I think it's very prominent. I also think that we're seeing the same laws in the US, or just slightly altered, but only slightly, as what we have in the EU. I can hardly see anyone talking about it, that we have the same sort of MiCA regulation happening in the US. No one seems to cover it a lot, at least not what I can find. And then we have the third largest pension fund of Korea, which is 775 billion, not a small number. They just bought 20 20 million, not a lot, but in comparison, but 20 million of shares in Coinbase. Like why would a pension fund in fucking Korea buy shares in Coinbase? And for the people that listen to this channel and for us, we know that Coinbase isn't just any exchange. Coinbase is the exchange where BlackRock wants to push their ETFs through. First the Bitcoin ETF, and now they're also working on the Ethereum ETF. We had news that was disapproved, but maybe it's right, and they just fucked up on an XRP ETF. Wouldn't surprise me if has some sense of truth to it as well. And are the pension funds going to be pegged to all these ETFs with immutable assets? And is that why this is a bigger game? Is that where the exit liquidity is coming from when the economy goes tits up? The pensions are gone because we're going to socialize the losses. We hardly have any money anymore in the lower and middle class. The only thing we got is mortgages, and we can hardly afford them with lower generations, but we got the pension funds. So, we kind of lose those and then digitalize that, and we get our segue into a digital identity. I mentioned it before, tongue in cheek. Get a digital identity or you're not a patriot. And, because you got to support the pensions, right? People work for their pensions. You got to support them. Be a patriot. Get a digital ID. And we're going to sway the public into a mandatory system of compliance. And what better subject or umbrella to move everyone under than a pension, because it's the one thing that unites all of us. We all work, and at the end of our life, we all need a pension. So we all, put a piece of our taxes into pension funds every time we work. It's the one thing that unites all of us, at least financially. So I think that is going to be played out. I don't know, no financial advice. I don't know if we should short the pension market. It seems to be a tough call, a pretty big call too. I'm not Michael Burry in 08 with the subprime mortgages, but it wouldn't surprise me if the pensions are fucked, and this is the infrastructure that they're building up. But that's my conjecture. As for the other tweets, yeah, you can read them. I retweeted them. You can find them on my Twitter profile if you want to, or just look them up if you don't believe it. And I covered the first 10 minutes there, so I'll shut up and drink some whiskey.
That's a lot to unpack.
Wow. That's a lot said.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Salud.
Cheers.
Salud.
What's the catalyst? I guess that's the thing in the United States. We think we're independent and sovereign, and we can
we
treasuries call the shots. So what's the catalyst going to be that activates everybody that says yes, we need to bail out the pensions?
The treasuries.
Treasuries are going to go.
Look, yeah, the system is fucked. We've got a high interest rate. Mm-hmm. Mortgages can hardly be people don't buy houses anymore.
You get a 50-year mortgage though.
Get an infinity mortgage.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, so we spread it out a little bit more.
To live there,
hey, is that called rent? An infinity mortgage? Is that
permanent rent?
I just wondered.
When is the Attorney General going to create a decision?
Yeah, that's the good question. I mean, you're the guys in the U.S. You tell me.
Good
luck.
I
don't know. I'll have to look it up. Let me have a look. When Garland
search it up.
Tether Binance verdict.
AI it.
2 years. 2025.
It'll be a year.
It's a hot topic because Binance and Tether are being accused of financing Hamas. So
we'll know by next year this time.
Usually Israel moves pretty quickly. Let me have a look. This is from the 26th of October, by the way. So
we've created $500 billion since then. So, everything's fine.
Who's counting? Oh,
you take a check?
Yeah. Oh, here. You got this paper. Here, $1 trillion.
Come on. What the? It's called like this.
Hey, the government's funded until February 2nd. We're good. We're good here in the U.S. We're going to get through the holidays, have our Santa Claus.
Why worry?
It's all fine.
Are you good?
We kicked the can to January and February.
Just another
if they
thing.
tried to ruin my Christmas, don't ruin my Christmas.
Politicians got to go.
Yeah, that's all my fault. Life is a piece of steak.
I'm getting something. I've been good this year. I'm getting something for Christmas. So don't ruin my Christmas.
Santa's bringing a shaft.
Yeah, Javier is moving away from mermaids to elves.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, no,
And please,
the 4th of
please,
December.
no lubrication. I don't. Never mind. We'll go into it.
No, you were speaking about lubrication, and then you swallowed your words. So.
Yeah, I was going to say no lubrication, but then that would mean that I want it raw, and that's not either. I don't want either.
Right.
When
The
is
raw
the next
truth.
decision? When is the next decision on ETFs?
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a
good
good.
point.
These are good questions. So let me speculate here with another angle because I can't find it yet. I'll keep a search out. But the 4th of December is the deadline that's been postponed and might be postponed again for Evergrande to pay back their debt, which has tremendous repercussions for the treasury market. That seems to be the main driver of why Japan is buying treasury bills. And the last time Japan couldn't, so the U.S. government bought them up themselves, which basically what happens is that the interest rate on those treasuries goes up too quickly, too soon, too quickly, at least for the 3 years. And when that happens, the cost for companies to loan money becomes too high, and they cut production and they cut research and development. So then unemployment goes up because they need less people, and you already see that. But they're kind of making the numbers opaque by saying the unemployment is the same, but underneath the unemployment number, we don't see that it's going up, but actually it is because more people are having part-time jobs. So what you see, 2 or 3 jobs, Clint, that's right. So something is already breaking because people can't make ends meet. So they work hard. And now Walmart posted that we're going to see a massive inflation and that Walmart thinks they're going to sell less. A fucking supermarket says we're probably going to sell less. Like, that's something no one wants to. You don't cut on your supermarket costs. That's like the last thing you do as a family, right? To cut on the things you need in your household. So I don't think it's really sustainable for a long time, but I think next year, after your Christmas party, Javier, is going to be a world of fucking pain. So yeah, you're happy, the commodities will probably go up. Yeah, definitely.
No.
So
Yeah, but how much is it?
that's a long time away. That's at least a month away. Just don't worry
a
about it.
long time
You give me
away,
a good Christmas.
So,
Yeah,
I
long
just
time.
wanted to kick off with that EU-US thing and the pension funds and like macroeconomics. That what is the driver or the catalyst? I think the treasuries are, and I think the world is sick of buying U.S. debt. And I think when the U.S. buys up its own debt, the interest rate moves up too quickly, and the market cannot cope with it. And what I mean with the market is just the massive amount of people. And then you had one interesting thing. You had Xi Jinping from China meeting Biden in San Francisco, and all of a sudden, all the homeless people were
Everything's fine.
Oh
now.
wait, they
It's all
cleaned it
fine, it's all
up.
cleaned up.
They cleaned it
Yeah.
up. Hell yeah.
So where did they go?
What's wrong with that?
Where did they go?
They went over and saw them, and now
So-
he's back. I thought I thought they gave
they
it
put
to
him on a
him.
boat.
I thought, China owned California. I don't
Back
know.
and
Brought him
forth.
to a FEMA camp.
Yeah, back and forth, moving around, shuffle them. Yeah, it's a
Well,
good
somebody's
question.
gotta
Where do you
show
put all
us-
these people.
But
Yeah,
what's
somebody's
funny
got to
about
show
that
us
to
how
me?
the hell we're going to keep all those
You know
people
what's
in
funny
California.
about that to me? If you guys want to, you can sort the shit out in a day.
Well, yeah. Why would we? We got Christmas coming.
No, seriously, you can take all the homeless people, just throw them into to healthcare, clean up the entire street, put some plants out there. It looks nice.
I think we
in a
did
day.
that for
in a fucking day.
Chi.
In a fucking day,
Yeah.
you can clean up the entire fucking city with the problem. You can do it in
That's
a day.
what the rumor was, that it
what are
was
we actually
cleaned up.
talking about? Yeah, of course. But what are we
And wait,
talking
we got
about?
that
Like,
great governor over there. Oh, Pelosi's boy. Is
the cleaninator.
Yeah, the cleaninator. I mean, come on. Look,
Slick.
yeah,
He's
it's
slick. He's slick.
Yeah, but I mean, have you seen the videos of like the streets of Philadelphia and Kensington Street?
Exactly.
I
You
mean,
see that
Tom
guy
Hanks
goes
movie.
around and just
you
records it?
can't just clean that up
No, it's
in
a
a
mess.
day.
Well,
You know,
2
and,
days.
and to think that compounded with that of California and Oregon, or Washington rather,
Yeah,
or
right.
all three.
all three.
Yeah,
It's weird as fuck, isn't it? And then I see these videos of Biden with Xi, like I knew that the guy was not as sharp anymore. Let me just be a little diplomatic and friendly to your supreme leader.
No,
But this is just beyond ice cream level.
embarrassing.
He can't even climb the stairs
Shameful.
in his head anymore.
Shameful. I know. Oh, falling down steps and can't even speak. Reading paper, trying to. Oh, it's an
Well,
embarrassment.
our governors and senators think he's totally fine. I mean, why should we doubt those brilliant people?
Well, I mean, it's the same with every president. They're just the puppet
Yep.
to breach the information to the populace, but he can't even do that.
Hey, do
No,
we
he
have
can't.
any messages in the chat, Dave?
Yeah, good
We're
question.
20 minutes in. Do we have some?
Oh,
Do we
let's-
have even any
Ow.
listeners?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We got some high
J-Mac.
fives. We got
I
some
see
fire. We
J-Mac
got
in here,
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Cool.
getting to it. Yeah. Ryan O'Neal.
Let's fucking go. Sure, mate.
Yep.
Let's fucking go, Ryan. What's up, fam? Warrior 32.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
he's good.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, let me see what I've got here.
Hashtag hash it out. I like that.
There you go.
Federal government,
Create a hashtag with it out.
Yeah.
federal government
hash it
supposedly controlling the internet. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Well-
What happened with the vote? I don't know. I haven't paid attention to it. It was supposed to be voted on yesterday.
I think it was 3-2 for it. So, not that they don't control it
Right.
anyway. I mean, I don't
that's-
know, but
That's the thing. I mean, they've already had all their little boxes and gateways and all the big companies already, and now they're just kind of rolling it out and saying, "Hey, guess what? We've already been doing, but what we're going to do." So now they're telling us what they've been doing, making it official. Kind of like with all this regulation, they already got it in place. They just got to.
well, is it? What's the reason? The terrorists? No, that was the last one. Why? Why do we keep losing our rights?
Make sure there's not hate speech. We got to make sure that we're not hurting people's feelings. You got to make sure that you're on the correct side of the aisle and the correct side of the agenda.
Oh yeah. I was just thinking about those things. What are those? The amendment that I thought were important at one time, but that's a long time ago.
Come on, piece of paper.
Yeah, look who wrote them. A bunch of people in silly looking outfits.
Yeah, come on. A bunch of wigs.
Yeah, that's
funny hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is some of them wearing wigs.
They wrote
and
with
shit,
a
I think.
feather. They wrote with feathers. Come on. Give me a break.
Come on. How can that count?
It's not legit.
Really?
No.
Yeah, times are changing. I think you said that in a few of your videos. We're going something.
We're going something right down the porcelain.
And we're ready for, I don't know, what are we getting ready for? I think interesting times. Keep your money, keep your coins off the exchanges.
Yeah,
I
no
think
doubt.
that's really, really good.
That's a big win if you can do that.
I'll just put all of them on Binance and Tether.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Seifu.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Seifu.
counting. What's
Buy
your
some
thoughts?
Pepe and buy some Shiba Inu. I heard they do great things.
Hey.
Ape NFT for the win, man.
So you
That's
have
what I'm
all your money in Tether stake?
Yeah, Solana to 1 million.
Good God.
Oh, that's painful. It's like the most painful thing to watch. I mean, it really is. I want to be like, when's the next restart of the blockchain?
I think where we're going now with legislation, I think it's going to be a back to fundamentals, a back to basics moment.
Yeah,
I'll be proven right finally. You mean with Litecoin?
it cannot be anything different, because if you want market adoption, that's when fundamentals drive to the top. And because why if you're really going to use something, it needs to be good. So you're only going to put your money in something that works. And if it doesn't work and it's just a load of hot air, it will fall eventually. Yeah, it means Bitcoin. It means Litecoin. It means DigiByte. It means maybe
Stuff that
people
works.
don't like this as maxis, but it means XRP.
It
We
works, it
see a
works.
whole list here with things, which I also
Yeah.
like that you do that. Yeah.
Down the
there's
top
quite some
100, Pepe? No Pepe out there? No.
No, I don't have Pepe.
No,
I think
it's
It's a
LCX is
smart
Four,
one.
contract.
man.
It's just
It's
code.
Pepe
Little
4
tiny.
now. Haven't you heard?
I think I'm in an echo chamber because my portfolio looks a lot like Dave's.
Oh shit!
Get a trading group.
What
Join the
about
trading group.
significance? What about the significance of LCX in a
Yeah.
future of Binance and Coinbase?
Yeah,
With the
we touched
Attorney
upon that
General?
before Clint joined and before we went live. I have an opinion on it, of course. Like Javier, you said something about Reggie Middleton from Veritasium saying something about U.S. exchanges. What was that again?
I think he said by this time next year, and don't quote me because I fuck up every quote there is, but basically there would be very few, if any, exchanges. Basically, the banks were going to be your exchange. If you wanted to trade, it was going through the bank.
Right.
And yeah, I could see something like that happening. But
Yeah.
I want your explanation on LCX, how it's already been approved overseas.
Well,
But
yeah, it's the one thing. Look, I just hate the fact that I see things happening in this ecosystem and then hardly anyone or no one is talking about it. It's because it's what we talked about, like these echo chambers or whirlpools in social media, that people are married to their bags and they don't really pay attention to what's happening to other places. And sometimes you got to give flowers to other people for what they're doing. That is a good thing. And if you're not looking into it, you're just basically going to extrapolate on your thoughts, and you're like, yeah, every exchange is going to fall. I think it's a fair assessment in general. But what I do think is interesting, why LCX stands out, is that something odd happened in the U.S. due to all these legislations and court cases. Is that when the SEC versus Ripple court case was ended, there was a verdict that was casted. One of the things that happened afterwards is that the SEC's power to list and approve an exchange basically went to the CFTC, and which is the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission. And the SEC, they now you have the very weird limbo in the US, that if you want to list an exchange to trade in the US, as far as I know or understand it, you have to be approved by both the SEC and the CFTC, but you can't be approved anymore by the CEC by the SEC, because that power moved to the CFTC due to that court case. But there's still like a legal precedent that you have to be approved by the SEC, but you can't, because you can't register, because the SEC is not allowed to approve it. So why that makes it interesting for LCX, in my opinion, is because of the court case of SEC versus Wahi, which you can look up. It was about an insider trading thing that happened conveniently, I think, at Coinbase. And it was about 9 Ethereum tokens, ERC20 tokens, with their business case written out, and LCX token. And none of those tokens, in LCX included, were listed as a defendant. So that was the rule by decree, which made CFTC pissed off by the SEC, that they said, you overstepped your boundaries. That was the court case in the first place that created that whole political outfall and outburst between the SEC and the CFTC. So what happened is they settled that court case behind closed bars. And of course, because everyone only wants to be the hotshot lawyer giving advice about the prominent court cases and covering that in the marketing funnel, we only follow the big court cases, but we don't follow the small ones. And the SEC versus Wahi was settled, which basically means that LCX is listed by the SEC as a security, but it's listed. It has a stamp of approval. It's been through the red wire. It's been through the tape. So if also at that time when the court case happened between SEC versus Wahi, I started following the CFTC, and I started following the commissioner, which is a lady of Vietnamese origin called Caroline D. Pham. You can look up her Twitter. I've got her tweets saved. Is that she at some point traveled to Liechtenstein, and then the founder of LCX, Monty Metzger, actually tweeted about meeting her. And then she moved to Paris, and she spent time the next day talking about the lawyers that wrote the utility law that was part of the MiCA regulation. And then she fucked off back home. Now, make of that what you will, but I think that's very prominent. And I tweeted about that at the time too. And we could have a possibility at a certain point in the future where all these exchanges like Binance, for example, get delisted because of terrorist funding, but maybe most exchanges won't even make it because they're insolvent because of a liquidity problem, because stablecoins are going to get fucked. So it doesn't matter either way. There's problems with Kraken. There is well, maybe Uphold is a funny one, but we could talk about that later. There's just problems all across the board with any exchange, and Coinbase is under a lawsuit with Very as well, from Reggie Middleton, right, for infringing on that DeFi patent. So they're definitely not safe, and we could have a possibility where LCX, being extremely compliant already with the MiCA regulation and also in the EU and tied to Swiss banking, might be the only global exchange that's actually part of the US and EU market. And like it or not, both those markets hold tremendous financial liquidity. They have an incredibly deep pool of money, and you don't want to be missing out if you're a global player on either the US or Europe. So if you're the only exchange that's in both, I'd say that's a very undervalued asset, LCX. And I think, again, not financial advice, but I just don't understand why so many people are glossing over it. And
well, more important, Steak, why hasn't it made any kind of news? I mean, to me, that's absolutely huge
I'll tell you.
news.
Again, the LCX was one of the two exchanges that's a partner of the World Economic Forum. It's on their website. The other exchange was FTX by Sam Bankman-Fried, who we all know. That's prominent. They started in 2018, and then immediately within 10 months, they're listed as a partner from the World Economic Forum. When I create a business within 10 months, I'm also part of the global elite. I mean, that's just how you do business, right? You start a company and damn, within a year, you're part of the global elite. It's that simple. It's just one phone call. Anyway, the owner, Monty Metzger, he's a member of Davos. He's a speaker at the World Economic for at least a decade now, maybe more if you look at his socials. This is not like this is a connected fella, and that's interesting. And then the registration is just so elaborate. If you compare it to other exchanges, you have to file how much money you make, where your source of income is. You have to show receipts of the source of income. You have to disclose what percentage of your income you use for what different expenses in order just to be approved. So it's not just a KYC. It's very, very, very elaborate. And then you get hand-picked, not automatic. It's not an automatic system. You get hand-picked by a notary, and you get validated whether you can be a registered member on LCX, yes or no. There's a lot of extra rules you have to be compliant with, like not being part of any state funding operation or stuff like that. And then you get in the exchange, and the back office isn't automated yet. And there's 50 Indians. You can look that up on LinkedIn. I've done a deep dive. There's 50 Indians that were working or are working on LCX. And some of them worked for companies that also worked on the Indian CBDC and digital identity infrastructure called Aadhaar in 2017. They're part of the same companies. And look, might probably be nothing, or it might just be a big fucking rabbit hole. I just think it's incredibly interesting. And the company's called Consensus, by the way, CONSENSYS. And it's a big software company, and that works with Amazon and Google Cloud Hosting. So, the familiar names. And it's and those names also come back again in digital identities in Europe. I don't know about the US, but at least Google and Microsoft cloud service data center being used. So there's a lot there.
Were there any interesting people that are associated with the LCX?
They're also, last thing I can mention is they're part of, they're based in Liechtenstein. And if you're part of Liechtenstein, you're also able to tie into Swiss banking, which other countries are not. And you're basically able to put, Swiss banking and Cumrocket into it. So, that's probably the one, right, Dave? So yeah, that's the big one, right? I mean, it's tied to Swiss banking. So I think apart from that, people involved, yeah, it's just fucking huge, and no one's talking about it, or hardly anyone. And then there's the connection with DigiByte Metaverse, DGMV, being listed on LCX, Digi3, which is tied to Sovereign Edge EU under the EU grant. So, the rabbit hole tumbles very deep. Something for another video, maybe. But I think it's a very prominent asset.
Wow.
I'm all in on IOTA. Yeah. Anyway, LCX, what else?
Dang.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah, let's do a little bit of a deep dive. Let's just look at all the people
What's that
work at
mean
it.
for Bitcoin? What's that mean? And I'm not for speculative. I mean,
Well,
my gosh.
what he said earlier about the pension funds. What did
Yeah.
you say? 20 trillion?
40.
What if 20 trillion?
Yeah, we
went
looked
into
it
the
up, right?
market?
Last year, 2022, 21 pension funds were 23.6 trillion. In 22, there were 20.5, 20.6 trillion. This year, I don't know. They dropped a bit from 21 to 22, but it's say that's a little bit more than 20 trillion, right? 20 trillion US dollars. And is it going to be pegged to an ETF? Is Korea basically firing a warning shot by buying up shares of Coinbase? Is there something happening with BlackRock, Coinbase, and Veritasium lawsuit that we don't know behind the scenes, and the pension funds? Is that happening? Are we going to see
Is
a
this all
paper
to
Bitcoin?
circumvent? Is it to circumvent the BRICS nations to secure the future of the Western world?
I think so. I think like if you need liquidity because so say that we subscribe to the idea of an everything bubble. We all see the inflation going up. We all see the interest rates going up. It's unsustainable. Zombie companies get cut out. Pensions are already holding the shit back. And if we want to socialize the losses and privatize the profits, same old song as in every other crisis, then where is the exit liquidity coming from? Who's paying for it? How is the lower and middle class going to pay for it this time? I think it's the pension funds. And if you want to fix them afterwards, you want to basically pack them to an immutable asset, because we're going to a digital infrastructure, right? We're going to a different transactory system. The means of how we interact with one another are going to be completely different. We're not going to do it debt-based anymore. There's a finite asset now. So we have to work within the budget. And so everything is being printed right now for what we need to do. And then after that, we need to stay in the budget. So how better to peg a pension to an immutable asset? But is that immutable asset going to be a Bitcoin? Is it going to be a paper Bitcoin ETF for your pension? Or is it Veritasium that's going to win their court case versus Coinbase? And is the pension going to be backed by a Veri token that the father of DeFi, Reggie Middleton, patented back in 2013? Who the fuck knows? But it sure is interesting, and it's so interesting and so big that, of course, no other fucking media outlet is covering it. I mean, that's the frustrating part, right? I mean, we're talking about the fucking future of our global currency and our pension funds.
Global, yes. Yeah, global currency. And nobody.
It's weird as fuck.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a question or two or three for Reggie Middleton that he's not used to hearing. I'll say it that way.
Yeah, like what's your favorite color and what type of food can I wake you up for in the middle of the night?
Well, you know what? That's absolutely interesting. I mean, you definitely bring a different perspective. And the following that I do, a lot of it is just basically what I hear from the Telegram group, and it's just wow. You've left me speechless, and that's hard.
I would say blue and barbecue ribs.
Yeah, and that.
Oh, he's too healthy. He eats something healthy. He's in good shape.
That's healthy.
It's
So
just a barbecue sauce.
So
and
let's
everything
do the math. 2 million Veri tokens, 20 trillion pension fund. I don't know, one US $1 million for one Very token?
What?
Is that the price? And
Awesome,
growing?
man. I'll have
Is it only-
$100,000 then, baby.
I'm sending you
I'll be
some more
set.
Neatos.
Hey,
I'm sending you some
you know,
a truckload.
1 million times zero is still zero, right?
Yeah. No,
Do
that's,
you actually
that's,
do you actually have to register and have insurance and all on the boat when you sink it? Right?
yeah, no, wow. Wow. Well, and put it this way, I would think that he's worth every penny of it. He's been at this for what is it now, 10 years, and I don't see a lot of other people that would have stuck around with the insults from the government in which he reside in the country that he resides in from the government. And was he treated unfair? Hell yeah. You know what? I've not by not means ever been treated in that way by the government, but I've been close. I mean, I've been close in some other aspects where I don't believe it's important to them what they do as long as they get to what they want. And, you know, the eminent domain issues, by no means there's to that gravity, but you know what? There should be certain rules. My gosh, the guy got the patent. So let's clarify this. You know, let's call him for what it is, or clarify the situation that he's in and say, look, we made a mistake, but I don't think that's coming from the SEC. And it was interesting, and I'm trying to understand what you were saying about the SEC and the SFC.
CFTC.
Yeah, explain that one. What is
it? And commodities.
Okay.
One's commodities, one's securities on the surface.
Yeah.
And they're both government and fucking you over.
Yeah, and they both want to control everything.
But they're both.
Well, and here's where I'm trying to go, and probably I'm not there yet, is establishing value. If we did get into a very coin, that's what he has always talked about, was establishing value. Now, for me to explain that, I can't. But
well, what if
we've talked about it? Go ahead.
What if it's the very token that is in control of the pension funds?
I'm hearing whiskey.
What's being said?
A little bit of bourbon.
Wow. But, hey, what Blind Dave just said. Can you repeat that, Dave? That was pretty good. Let me swallow that.
Well, so I mean, what if the very token were to be this? I don't know, yield-bearing asset to own over the pension funds.
Yeah, that's what I speculate.
Wow.
I think so too.
So instead of trying to calculate how many Veritasium I'm going to sell for a profit, instead I'd be looking at more residual income at that point.
Yeah, you'd be selling paper Very.
Right. Or the use of it.
Access to your Very or access to use it. Because isn't that what it was? I mean, you could
access to an infrastructure.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Right now, there's no value.
It's like you would have the post your Very. Somebody could use it as the intermediary, I guess, for lack of a better word. But yeah, you would rent it out for them to use in the infrastructure that of all assets, I guess.
But basically, let's work this out. If we really want to move in the West, and we are sincere about it, into a new digital infrastructure for finance that's actually fair and is creating a completely different society that's not debt-based but merit-based and stakeholder-based, no pun intended, then you need the DeFi protocol because it's just the fastest protocol there is and the stablest protocol there is in order to put something like pensions on. So I don't think it's necessarily a narrative of whether it's good or not. It is better. But it's probably more a narrative of like how much of a cut does Reggie want, and I don't think they can blow open intellectual property that well because that would sink the ship in the West. If we would basically say, well, fuck inventors, we're not going to protect them anymore, and there is no reason anymore for intellectual property, then there's no stick to slap China over the head with anymore that they're violating copyright issues, because everything is fair game. So that won't happen, and so we're probably gonna honor IP rights in the West, which means that Reggie's gonna get paid, and that means that either Coinbase is going away, or they pay Reggie a shit ton of money, and I wonder if they pay Reggie a shit ton of money, will they still use Very?
Well,
I think
that's another question, because like right now I hear Reggie and Uphold, and then I hear XRP and Uphold, and I'm thinking more XRP is more the rails.
yeah, I agree, but isn't Uphold the guy Bill Wagner and both Reggie? Don't they have like a history with Fidelity? So isn't it also maybe a game between Fidelity and BlackRock? And it's like who's
Wow.
going to sit at the
Wow.
table and who's got the big piece of the pension chunk?
Could
It's a
be.
big fucking market. It's a $20 trillion market, and we don't want to lose it. So, is that what it is?
Well, and that's just with pension funds. That's not even anything else.
No.
What did you say? Korea, 40 trillion? Is that what you said?
No, 775 billion pension fund.
75
It's the third
yeah,
pension fund. It's
75
the
billion.
National Pension Fund of Korea. They invested only 20 million in Coinbase stock. But just goes to show that it's weird that a pension fund company, and in Korea, which hasn't been really that supportive of the West yet, because they've always been basically on the fence whether they went for BRICS or for the West. And this basically shows that they're making a move.
With the asset backing it of, say, Bitcoin, and with the digital
Well, either way, I'm
identity
fine.
and with the digital identity of DigiID.
Can you imagine the liquidity that would go in the market if like the entire market for crypto gets not just, institutional investment money, but like institutional investment money from pension funds? Can you imagine the inflow? We're not going to see a $1 trillion market, not a 10. We might go straight to 20 or 30.
And 1 trillion would be what, 500,000 Bitcoin? So times 20. So that's a $10 million Bitcoin is what you're calling?
Yeah, maybe in 1.5 years already. Yeah.
And a $70 Litecoin.
It's insane. Yeah, that's phenomenal.
And a 0.5 cent DigiByte, right?
Just in, silver down 15%.
Dang it.
You were in the right one again, Clip.
Yeah, I win again.
I was in the right place, but at the wrong time.
Do? No, but what would Litecoin do if Bitcoin would be anywhere between 1 to 10 million?
Who knows?
What's the current ratio now?
Oh, God, it's ridiculous.
400. It was close, yeah, 400, 400.
Maybe worse than that even.
Last time it could be worse.
Mm-hmm.
So just say in a day 100 to 1 would be what price at 10 million Bitcoin. I mean, so
yeah, I should be okay.
100,000 Litecoin?
A couple Litecoin, I'm good.
Fucking hell.
It'll buy you some whiskey, I think.
I'll say I'll have a stock bar.
yeah, well,
Yeah, you'd have a stock
a little
bar.
more tequila.
Yeah, tequila for everybody.
Fucking
Yeah, I
hell.
might move up to Patron.
Yeah, the one thing that I
That's when you know you've made it, when you're drinking Patron, right? You're slinging Patron everywhere.
It tastes the
that's what you
same, but
think
I'm
is what
spending
you
more
think
money
you made
for it.
Get a nice label. Comes in a pretty box.
Wow. Well, that
Well,
kind of makes link Vertasium with LCX. Is there stake?
I think that's the anomaly.
no, well, here's the funny thing. When we did that video about that privacy shield, and after that, all of a sudden, those software deals were hitting. We just said like the SEC settled with Ripple, and we had OpenAI, and we had Meta and Threads and all that shit. One thing that also happened is that Reggie came out a few days after that, and he basically says, guys, I got a patent approved in the US and Japan, but he had it in the past denied in the EU, but he filed it again. He filed it again, I think, in the EU and Switzerland, or EU and England. I thought it was EU and England. And it was, I think the timing of that was interesting. So maybe it will be approved at some point in the EU, but so far it hasn't, right? So there is no DeFi right now in that patent in the EU that they recognize it from him. But if you look at, like, for example, DigiByte, which we connect to DigiMV and LCX, that's a proof of work chain, which is a hard fork of Bitcoin with a few other things, but there's no smart contracts on it. There's no smart contract DeFi on it, right? But if you want to create like a smart layer on top of it, and I know that one of the developers, the lead developer that's working on DigiByte, that's being paid by DigiCorp Labs, Yoshi Jaeger, he's working on a DigiByte smart layer, basically to create, dApps on a proof of work chain, which is very interesting from a legal perspective, because you could change the security on an ERC20 into a commodity on a DigiByte chain. That's just mind-blowing shit. But the chain isn't really created to handle that. You can't really do that on a proof of work. You need like you need a completely different, I don't know how he's going to do it with the smart layer, but I do think that if you want to and you need a DeFi protocol for it, you're probably going to need to comply with Reggie's patent at some point.
Was that where DigiByte ID comes in? So much
No,
not as
that's a completely different beast.
okay.
The DigiID doesn't work. It's blockchain backed, but it's a different set of the key that you need to lock it. It's not related to actual on-chain activity, and it doesn't have anything to do with smart contracts or with apps on chain. I'm talking about Reggie's patent. Anyway, more scotch.
Bam.
I'm drinking a singleton. I received the bottle from someone. It's a single malt Scotch whiskey. Pretty good.
Wow.
Gotta love it.
There's so much shit going on if you pay attention. Too much to cover.
Okay, can you hear me? My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. I was speaking a moment ago, but I was like, so what about, let's go back to stable coins go away between March and June. Just say, how long till exchanges start going away?
Immediately.
And introducing the CBDCs to be used is more like the back rail.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Wow.
So one thing that I found out is that if I look at the EU,
So
and
in other words,
digital,
do not be on an exchange. Everything you got have in a separate wallet.
yeah, at least by March to June next year. I think before that a little bit already, but March, June is definitely deadline day. And by deadline, I mean really D-Day. You're either in or you're out at that point.
Right.
You either got it on a cold storage or in your own wallet. But if you're on the exchange, you're just going to be reimbursed in fiat, and then they take the real asset that you bought, so you don't own it. It's just a nothing burger.
Kind of
So,
like
yeah,
the game plan we've been seeing with all these exchanges that went under. Basically, you think you
Yeah.
got the asset, but you don't have the asset.
Exactly, and it's like that. It's like that musical song, right? That chair song.
Mm-hmm.
You get that chair dance. The music stops, and you have to take a seat, but there's not enough chairs for everyone. There's not a lot of liquidity for everyone. So who's got their ducks in a row? Well, only if you're compliant and if you've been doing business well, do you have your shit in order. But even like Circle, USDC, which is playing very, very nicely by the books, they get hurt too by wash trading of Tether on Binance through
yeah.
Circle, and then it turns out it's not backed. So they're doing their utmost best to be like a really good stablecoin, but they're 93% backed by prime assets, and by the law they have to be backed 100% by prime assets, and they aren't. They're not allowed to have derivatives. So it depends on how you look at the market. If you're going really straight by the book, and it turns out this Garland guy in the US is, then you might also see the death of Circle. So it's very, very convenient that PayPal decided to move forward. And yeah, I don't know what to
Well,
make of it. I
Let
just
me
think
let me ask Blinddave a few questions. I mean, if we know that we are going at Reggie, so we're going kind of into this cycle may be a patent cycle. Well, I know about VeChain because it's been mentioned, and Craig Wright, and we have holders of it. I think Reggie was mentioning the Gemini twins.
oh yeah,
who's
that
holding
video.
them?
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
one.
so the Gemini twins,
Yeah,
it was good. Crypto Blood, I really enjoyed it, especially the second half.
wasn't there
I'm
wasn't there
still
an
trying to
attorney?
understand it.
Wasn't there an attorney on that
There was
video?
no, that was the one before with Lisa, an
And Bill.
attorney, and the guy from Uphold. That was
Yeah,
he did 3 or 4 in a row. He did one, I think, with Rice. Shoot, I can't even remember now.
Russ BBS.
I really enjoyed the one with Blood because he basically gave you his opinion of where the market. So I'm wondering, okay, we have those. What else do we have out there with holding patents? I mean, wouldn't it be
Compound,
Compound,
Compound, and
Theta.
Chain from Bitcoin
Theta?
Satoshi Vision.
Bitcoin
We've got,
SV.
Veda's got a few on XRVR. Of course, Reggie himself, and there was a Chinese company, right?
Yeah, he had mentioned something. I don't know anything about Baidu, but
Baidu.
if he mentioned Baidu,
Yeah, I never heard
I don't
of
know
that
anything
one. Have
about
you?
it.
I've heard of Badal. I've heard of Badal, but not Baidu.
It could have. Well, you know what? I don't know. I think he pronounced it
Well, no,
Baidu.
he did say Baidu,
but
and that's why I'm like, I'd never heard of that one before.
Right.
I don't either. Interesting to look into things that he mentions. I've done that in the past, and I've been lucky or done well with some of his advice. And so, just something interesting. I don't know anything about it. I'd love to find out more about it. But I'm interested in, okay, who's playing, who's biting, who's N-Chain. Where are we going with N-Chain? The ones with the meat and potatoes. We know that there are some with meat and potatoes. I can't tell you what they do, or I know that it made it seem like at one point Craig Wright had the impression that Reggie's patent infringed on his. This is what I understood of it, and I believe he realized it wasn't, and he's actually stated Reggie's patents. But it's really interesting if you do a little search on how many companies have stated Reggie's patents and the caliber of. I mean, I'm talking MasterCard. I'm talking the Bank of America. I think there's over 100, 113 at one particular time, and don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. But IBM, I believe, is one of them. And with people that have stated his patent, nobody's bucking up. Nobody's interested in spreading a little bit of the. Wait. Where are all our influencers? Where are all the people that are very into crypto and are totally into the changing and getting out the news? And I don't see that coming out. I mean, I'm seeing that he's starting to make a lot more interviews, and I definitely see that he's a lot more accessible, and people are more accepting of him. There was a time, put it this way, Reggie couldn't go on to a show, and if I ever mentioned it 2 years ago, if I mentioned Reggie's, I was attacked. I was an idiot. Well, the idiot part of they were probably right, but I was completely attacked because he was such a. And now it's more accepted. Or at least this is the vibe that I get, maybe I'm too close to the very coin. As of I own a few, and so I follow it closely. I'm seeing that people that seem to be against them at one time are a little bit more open-minded, and that's a good thought. You know, the man deserves it. He was screwed. He was royally screwed by his own country. And I'm surprised he didn't go to another country and go and keep creating something else. I don't know that I would have stuck around.
Well, that was
after
part of the
getting
deal
shit
with
on.
the SEC. He was prohibited from taking part in anything else.
Oh, yeah, it is. I don't know all the history, but yeah, you know, like I said, I keep going back to the integrity part because I really appreciate. It's good to see that there are still people out there that you could, that I would make a deal with by shaking his hand, looking him in the eye, and his word would be good enough for me. And that's just, and that's, I can't say that about very many people. Probably everybody in this room.
I was going to say, especially everybody in this room. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, we have that, and we have, but
Oh,
besides
you're saying it good about us. So I thought you couldn't shake.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No,
no, I'm kidding.
Well,
sometimes.
Well, I don't know. After a few drinks,
how many tequilas? Yeah.
Well, we kind of negotiate. Yeah, he's still there, and God dang it, man, that guy's got energy. I gave a quick story about him. My girl, me and her got in a little spat, and she decided to call him personally, and he took the call. I was shocked. It totally set me for a freaking loop. I was like, oh my God, you didn't. What the hell? She knows nothing about crypto, and she's like, well, I was. And he took the time. I asked her at one time, I go, well, how long did you talk to him? I was just petrified because I've really never have talked to Reggie, and I'm kind of very intimidated. He's used very proper English. He speaks very well, and I'm, as you well know, not well versed in our English language. And when she told me, well, I only spoke to her for about 20 minutes, I was like, oh my God, that meant at least 45 minutes. And he took the time to kind of walk her through and to say, hey, I think it's okay, you know, and that spoke volumes for me. Tell me one other person that would have taken that kind of time.
So Javier,
yeah.
Has she figured out what his favorite color is yet?
You know what? When she gets here, I'll ask. That's all I can do. I have no idea. No.
Probably red.
Probably.
What have you gotten my man into? Who are you? Are you some skinny
no, it
model?
wasn't.
Yeah, right.
It was my man is an ass, and he left and didn't kiss me goodbye. I don't know what the hell it was about, but I was like, oh, you didn't. I'm like, how did you possibly? Well, I don't know how. She's got her way. She found a number, and
I have an off.
And he did take the time.
Shoot it.
Go ahead.
What were the other companies or blockchains that pitched to Department of Homeland Security other than DigiByte?
I don't think there were. Does that answer your question?
Well, not
Because
really,
the
because
thing
I
is
thought that
that
there were
pitch-
other ones involved, but I was curious of which who.
Well,
Who was pitched to Department of Homeland Security?
let me have a look. I got the video up here.
Clint coin.
Ben Token?
Ben token. Clint coin.
So
Grind Dave coin. Token.
Grind Dave Token. That's a good one. He will grind you till it hurts.
And then he'll throw you in the hot tub.
But wash
Dunk
your
you in the
ass
hot-
before you get
Dunk
in.
you in the hot tub.
well, if it's a hot tub token, can we have an NFT of Matthew Perry?
Damn.
Oh shit!
Why
Or is
can't we
that a
just be
death cat
friends here?
bounce?
Come on, let's just be friends. Let's not go there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or-
We're just
or-
being
or-
friends. Yeah, I'll be there for you, Clint.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Just an NFT of Chernobyl. That's all.
Mm.
Hot tub time machine.
Well, I had a look to that Homeland Security thing, Dave. I just had to look it up. They did pitches for like pattern recognition software for facial object speed, voice, real-time analytics platforms, sensors, scanners, imaging, cybersecurity platforms, anything identity related or privacy related. And it wasn't necessarily had to be blockchain backed. So the only thing blockchain backed was DigiID in that pitch. So the rest was just software, hardware in general.
Coincidence, theorist.
Yeah, at the end of the day, blockchain is an encryption, but it's just so obsolete technology.
Can't imagine.
Just saying.
Can't imagine using it. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, everyone's got Excel.
You know what?
Am I going to be chained to a block?
Yeah, right. You're not gonna put that block on my leg. That's what marriage is for.
Yeah. I already got
Why
a
you need
ball
that?
and chain.
I went
Don't
to
put
the.
a block on.
I won't say why, but I went to the courthouse earlier this week, and I had some business to do. And I went into the recorder's office to record something, and I said, "Okay, so what's the process now?" Because I've been in there before, houses and stuff, quit claim deeds, all that, and filed it, and then they mail it out to you with the stamps and all that. They give you the original back. And I said, "Okay, so what's the process here? Are you going to mail this document back to me? I mean, do I get the original back? What's going to happen here?" And she's, "Oh, no, just wait. I'll get it. I live in a small county. Just hang on. I'll record it right now and I'll give it right back to you." And I said, kind of talking a little bit, and I said, "So, I mean, you don't need the physical documents anymore." "Oh no, it's all digital." So she's putting it in, scans it in, puts it in the screen. She looks at it, boom, it's on file. You can look it up through some system that they have now. And it's an interesting thing. She said since 1986, everything after that, it's all digital now. And some of the older stuff, they're still working on trying to get it because it's hard to search. People didn't put the right stuff in, keywords, that kind of thing. But everything you take now at this small little courthouse, in this small county, it's all digital, man. I mean, all of it. They have no paper records of anything that comes in there. It is completely digital. And it's just,
but the
if you
thing
don't
is,
think things are going digital, they're going digital.
It's digital scanned, right?
Right.
But where we're going is digital by data. So
Exactly.
you can look at everything, and you can do complete models on every single thing in that piece of paper that you scan. It won't just be a PDF. It will be, every word will be scannable. Like it will be put, every number will be scannable. Everything will be immutable and encrypted. It's going to be a lot more elaborate. New album dropping, Clint Lowell. All right. LOL. Who's got a new album dropping?
What am I looking at?
Clint, sing.
New album dropping, Clint. Oh no.
The Westwood Chronicles.
We'll save that for happy hour. When we get Blinddave banned, we'll stick to the OGs have been banned many times before. I'll do that on Lisa's channel. Start a new one. I won't be singing here. I'm telling you, seriously. She's gotten strikes, copyright infringements on songs for me singing a song, which I don't do well, and I mess up the words. And I agree. Give her, a copyright infringement on the video and demonetize it. It's just crazy. But anyway, no albums dropping. Might be something else dropping, but no albums.
Yeah, I was just hoping that maybe a Christmas song or a Thanksgiving one.
Oh yeah.
So Wind Moon.
Yeah, that's the question, right?
Less than 2 years. Boy, that's a conservative statement.
Well, if we go by the 4-year cycle, we got March to May 25. That seems to be the general consensus of people that do technical analysis. And it seems to line up with everything that the government is doing with digital identity and CBDCs. They stopped funding everything by March 2025. So from April 2025, all companies that got government grants on digital IDs and CBDCs, they have to stand on their own 2 feet. So they have to be ready for revenue by April. But if it's at the peak of a bull market, what does that mean? So I take that with a grain of salt, and then I look at like, what's the actual driver? I mean, isn't it just very simple? Once legislation becomes mandatory, that's when you got the green light. Why wait? I mean, if you can, you can, right? And if there's regulation for stablecoins next year, why wait another year for the halving? I mean, with all due respect, and this is where I think maximalists might be wrong, and we might all be wrong. I'm just going to throw it out there. If you have, say, for example, for easy calculations, you have $1 trillion market right now. Just say we do, and we're going to go to a $10 trillion market because institutional investments are going to play ball when legislation hits and the ETF hits. They're going to provide 90% of the liquidity. That means that wherever they put the liquidity is the number one player. If they would say put 9 trillion in shitcoin, then shitcoin is the number one.
We've seen that.
Well, I'll get to it. So we all seem to think that it's obvious that when they talk about a Bitcoin ETF, it's going to be Bitcoin, but now they filed for an Ethereum ETF. And maybe it's also some truth that they filed for an XRP ETF. Maybe we're going to get an LTC ETF in a few weeks. Heck, maybe in a few weeks after that, we're going to get a DigiByte ETF or a Cardano ETF. Maybe we're going to see a stablecoin ETF with just a mixture of all sorts of shit. I mean,
Right.
I think
you can propose whatever you wish. What gets passed is something totally different.
yeah, but what holds real value? Fundamentals and IP. That's
Well,
it.
what they're saying is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum,
But
and
the only
Bitcoin
thing
Cash.
that holds value, yeah, for now, or either a hard fork of Bitcoin, which can be interpreted in two ways: that Bitcoin has to be hard forked for core development, or it's a past hard fork. Anyway, what it could also be is that they want fundamentals and intellectual property. Retail puts value on Bitcoin because it has the deepest liquidity right now and no one owns it. But why would BlackRock care for something that no one owns? They want to own it. So that's not valuable to them. That's not a unique selling point. If anything, it's a competitor. So if anything, it's a big competitor. So I don't see it as a clear-cut case that BlackRock would ride Bitcoin's dick. Why the fuck would they? They probably say, we got the biggest dick. Adoption failed because we got a bigger dick than retail that adopted it. It's too late. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're not going to do it. Maybe they're just going to create their own shit, or maybe they already created their own shit. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen. I just don't think that it's clear cut that they're going to put everything in Bitcoin. Maybe they're going to put everything in Ethereum.
Well, I mean, I understand BlackRock and their book of business, but there have been many others in previous years, like BAKKT, which was owned by ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, which the owners of that was the New York Stock Exchange. So it's like I question a few things just on a BlackRock move when others are before it.
All right. Yeah. We're going to have to wait and see, I guess. I mean, that's basically what it is, right? I mean,
Who's most connected? Is that what we're talking about then?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the club behind it,
Right. Who's the winner they're going to pick?
Yeah.
well, if you look at
judges
like
going to dinner together, that kind of
Right.
thing.
if you look at the thing that we touched upon, right, with Garland and DJ Reinders in the beginning, with the infrastructure between the EU and the US, which I think is very prominent. And then if you look at the EU side of the equation, what's hanging under that SSI, Self-Sovereign Identity Act, because that's where it's part of, the digital identity and the CBDC and everything, that grant that's under there, then I'm staring at freefall. You know, I'm staring at DigiByte. I actually am. It's fucking nonsense. It blows my mind. But if
So let me ask you this.
look at no, let me just 1 second. If I look at
Go ahead.
it now, I look at XRP. I look at the rails. And one thing protects user data, and the other thing is the rails for cross-border payment. So I don't see Bitcoin there, right? I don't, and I don't see proof of work used for payment. I see it used as encryption, and I see Ripple used as not as proof of work. So where does Bitcoin and Litecoin come in? I think it's still the best asset. I think it's the best immutable asset.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for Veritasium, at least for also for a pension fund. So hold my fingers crossed that they make the right call for society. But it wouldn't surprise me if these motherfuckers set themselves up for a decade or 2 or 3 later to take profit again and dunk on everyone again. It's you know
It's what they do.
It's what they've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the game plan.
Well,
Always has been.
here's what I was going to mention. You know, Steak, we get a lot of information from you from a totally different perspective, and we are used to you go to the same spaces, more of a maxi mindset of people. Yeah. I don't see the outside bringing in this information. How much of this information do you truly think is out? Do we have 50%? Is there more digging? And there's always more digging because it changes day to day. But
digging bite.
For the people that are digging in deep to find that information, like yourself, like Dave, like Clint, we know it politically. I don't know. I really appreciate the perspective that you bring into it because you're giving us links for us to do our own homework on.
But you can read it.
That's very important. I don't know how much information is truly out there.
Now, what do you
for
mean
us
with
to
truly
dig in?
out there?
Well, a lot of the. How much is just behind the scenes? Do you think there's so much more?
There's no one that's disclosing to us, the public, the entire plan.
No,
So
exactly, and that's what I was trying to get to. Is that we aren't being informed. So I want to know, is there that much more information? Are we the one there is, and we just haven't?
These are just the breadcrumbs. These are just the breadcrumbs that are out there.
Yeah.
And
because no one else is digging.
Javier, one of the biggest mindfucks that people will get in this space, and the truth will come out because it's an open ledger. The biggest mindfuck that there is that these big entities that we talk about, Fidelity, BlackRock, Vanguard, Berkshire Hathaway, United States of America, European Union, those big motherfuckers, they've been in this shit since the beginning, or almost the beginning. And don't be surprised if big names in crypto are already owned by a MasterCard or a Visa or a PayPal or a BlackRock. Don't be surprised if like Tether is BlackRock. Don't be surprised if
Block one.
You know, if PayPal and Palantir had something to do with the CIA or with FinCEN and were in on stablecoin since the beginning, and they saw Binance as some sort of Chinese, platform, and they just fucked up the terrorist funding to Hamas themselves through Binance, just to throw them under the bus through legislation and say, see, you funded terrorists, and the US did it themselves just to create a narrative for them to get fucked over and get out of the US market.
That's what they always do. They've done that with everybody, world leaders. I mean, that's what the whole U.S. corporation empire does. Absolutely. They set you up, and then they pull the rug on you, and then they got their patsy, and then they do what they want behind the scenes. It's already ready to go, and they roll it out. So, yeah.
How many more shit? Clint, how many more shit?
They own the media. They're not going to tell you any of this stuff. So the information that you're digging up is stuff you can do on your own. They're not going to tell you anything until it's time, and then they're going to give you an excuse of why you need to do it.
Yeah, and if you're too nosy, Javier, something happens to you.
Yeah,
we get shut off on our internet.
Andrew Breitbart.
For the glory of Rome.
You get Britney Spears.
how many more blockchains that were ICO'd, are they just gone now, or are they working in the back? I know some of them are still working extremely hard in the background. Pillar, I get notices on it all the time. It was my first coin, and I don't know that that's got any value, but are they just holding those back to go, okay, it's time to bring up another coin that's got a little bit of meat potatoes. Let that ride so we can dump it. Let's FOMO
Well, here's
everybody
the thing.
in.
Say that you're the government, and you're the government, and you're a department in the government in 2014, 13, 14, and you get a memo that someone says from FinCEN, and the Treasury's Department says, you know, we want you guys as government officials to start working on this blockchain shit, because we're going to use that as encryption for whatever governmental files that we want to use. And these clerky go to work, and they're like, oh, fuck, this is great, but Jesus Christ, this whole fucking ecosystem is toxic as shit. And they don't have a regulation yet, but they have to play by the book because they're the fucking government. So every time something new comes up, they have to be at the safe side of the stick, because, you know, they have to, you can't just, you know, you have to play by the law. And don't be surprised if there's certain projects out there that have, like, and they call that public-private entities, if they are public, government, and private corporations mixed together in an entity. Like, and it's a collaboration between a corporation and the government that created a new, you know, corporation.
I could totally see that.
Yeah, and I think this space is full of it.
I think it's full of it, because right now some of those are remaining extremely quiet. They were smart enough to work outside the U.S. government and allowed to go very low in price, kind of to fly under the radar.
And you
talk, but they are working hard.
You talk about a very interesting problem. Is if you want something grassroots, you have to start with funds. And if you have to start with funds, generally, the only two things that you can do, or three things actually, is either you have an ICO, initial coin offering, you have a VC, a venture capitalist, or you have a very rich owner. But all three of them pose risks towards your decentralization. Because with an, so then there's a fourth option, which is basically one of the things that the DigiByte Alliance is trying to do, and that Zcash, I think, already did, but they fucked it up a little bit with their funds, and it's a 501c3. That's basically that you got a tax-free deductible donation that you could make for educational development purposes, and it's almost listed in all the states, right? And then that's another means of funding going back to the community. So if you get profit from your coin and you have to pay taxes in one way or the other, either through personal gains or through your trust, you have to pay a percentage. You could make them tax deductible through that 501c3 and fund a developer that's working full time on chain, and basically say, hey, here's an amount of money. I want X and so to be done for it, because otherwise it won't be approved by the IRS. You have to do it for educational purposes or development purposes, and the guy gets to coding and he got work and he's got a job and a salary, and your money's going back into the development of the chain, and that creates a loop of very healthy finance. But and that's actually decentralized and is better. But we don't really see that a lot in this space, because it takes a lot of work to be filed in every state. It takes a lot of work to do that, and I think that that's another option that venture capitalists want to see a bottom line. They don't care. They just want profit. They want profit, and they want it now. I want it immediately. I don't give a fuck what you're building. Give me your money. And a guy that puts in all his savings, he wants to have a big say in everything, because it's his fucking money, it's his fucking baby, and it's his fucking project.
Sure.
And, you know, that creates all sorts of issues. So let alone ICO, because, you know, we've seen all these court cases with the SEC. Then there's problems, right? With like security.
Well, is that why we're seeing the pay to play? I mean, you got deep enough pockets, You could put out any shit coin out there and then dump it.
Yeah, but then
Shit,
that
we've seen some. We've had friends that have been screwed by
might not
some.
be that shitcoin, depending on the funding, might not or might be compliant.
May or may not. We've seen it.
Yeah,
Hell,
because
they
then
won't
it's either
regulate them.
security, a utility, or it's a commodity, and that's significant to be one of the three because it has ramifications for how much taxes you pay over it.
I'm curious the latest on Richard Hart and Hex.
That's
I
one of
hope-
the.
I
That's one
hope
of the
he's in
guy.
prison.
Oh, he was
What's that?
wearing Gucci
I hope he's in prison.
Gucci thong.
Well, I just wonder what the latest is. I mean, I know every
haven't heard-
attorney tells you not to say anything publicly. I get that, but I wonder if he has said anything recently. I haven't gone looking to find out.
Have they found him? I don't think he would be in the States.
Got any
Why would
hexicans
you
in
be in
here
this
with an
country?
update? Need a hexican. Give us an update.
Yeah, you know, anybody that knows, I don't know anything about that, but we have that, but we also had other ones. FCC should have regulated. What is that coin? So they should have brought in the regulations on. Oh shit! One second.
Gonna go hash it out. I love I can't get over Blind Dave's head swimming in a pool of gold there. Just
It's a yellow shirt, man. I don't know.
it's funny. It just blends right in.
Right, but usually it's like green or blue that'll do it to a green screen. So it's just I got the light projector.
It's disembodied head. This is
behind
Dave
it. Yeah.
in 200 years. You're gonna see his head like in a pool of Bitcoin gold.
It'd be like the old Max Headroom down at the
Yeah,
bottom.
Dave,
Lisa.
grind Dave.
Oh, shit, I need
Grind
another
Dave.
drink. I need a refill.
There you go. Just don't get any gold tequila. We won't be able to see it. Need proof of drink.
I don't know. I saw that we ran a lot of people off on our ICOs in that stage. That was a lot of good talent and a lot of work for people here that some people could be using that. We've regulated it. We had such a big thing on pay to play. Gosh, I can go in different directions where how much was it to
Hey, I just want to know
list DigiByte
what's
on one of those
Mr.
exchanges,
Wonderful?
Dave? Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was the thing Jared got all ticked off about. It's like, we're not going to pay to list on all these exchanges, and he lashed out and, upset a lot of people. And I get where he's coming from. It's like, hey, why am I going to pay and give you all these coins?
I thought CZ's response to that from Binance was pretty funny back in the day because they asked him about the listing of DigiByte. And he basically said they had issues with the owner in discussing it because he wasn't really making a lot of friends. And CZ had an interesting take on it, a very Chinese take on it. He said, it actually creates another layer of decentralization that you have an owner that's not liked.
Yeah,
And on the one hand,
Yeah.
it's a very backhanded insult for a Western.
let me tell you how you get liked.
Chinese perspective.
You
It's
pay.
actually significant that there is some truth to it.
Oh yeah, if you want to be liked, you pay and then you get to play. Not that that's fair.
Yeah.
Not that it's totally against what the whole Bitcoin situation was supposed to stand for. And now, I mean, basically, who owns Ethereum? Chase.
Wow.
I mean, let's break it down. And so now, basically, we weren't supposed to be playing.
Just the Sicilians.
This was about us not being. This is about us being free, and if anything, the exchanges. Is it the greed? I want those exchanges. I want to better my life. So truly, is it truly the technology? Because we stopped. getting ourselves ahead, and we went to the easy money. Am I right? Am I close? Am I?
Just tell me
Clint,
what is
send
Mr.
me a fucking
Wonderful.
goddamn life vest.
What is Mr. Wonderful pumping? Now just tell me what's the next coin? Well, what is it? What's Pomp and Mr. Wonderful collaborating on? That's all I need to know. That's all.
You know what I
How
feel
much are
sorry
you being
for.
paid?
Get spokespeople. You know, people.
How much are you being paid, Clint?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
To shill Litecoin?
Look at me.
And DigiByte.
Nothing. I just suffer. It's a slings and arrows
You
of
just
anguish,
suffer.
outrageous fortune, holding Litecoin. Hey, I'll be
Put
proven right one day. I don't know when that'll
Clint.
be.
You will be.
Clint, you were
Someday.
there in 17, and so was
Mhm.
Dave, and you know we had the FOMO stage. I mean, how big
All
is
the
the
market
FOMO
emotions.
stage going to be this time around?
Right.
This
right.
time around, how big?
Well, I mean, here's a lot of the problem I see, and I just went to a coin show with St. Jerome. He was in here. We went to a coin show in Springfield, Illinois, and it was a pretty big show. And all the people there, I mean, that you talk to, they're like, you know, it's hard to do. It's this, it's that, you know, and I worry about this and I worry about that. There's that apprehension. And like you say, Steak, once this is all regulated, once they can purchase this stuff on an exchange, you know, through a broker or whatever dealer, I mean, it takes all that fear out of people's mind, because right now they're looking at it like, what's it worth? You know, and then they get it. Then you start talking about the nuts and bolts. Well,
Yeah, but they're not going to get it anymore.
No, they're not. But that will be the awakening FOMO moment, I think, that will be beyond recognition, because you're going to see it on all. I mean, you see it now, the little advertisements of Bitcoin and this and that. But just imagine all these freaking MSN.
There's just one thing that I'm worried about, Clint. I think that the rise in commodities will go hand in hand with the decline in living standard.
100% agree. 100% agree. And that's what's really going to make people FOMO, because they're going to see the depreciation of any asset that they thought they had. And they're going to see this going up.
Maybe the general public, so like the 99% that's not in this, maybe they'll see Bitcoin as the culprit. Look at what they did with our money. They stole everything.
They could turn it around that way, and then guess what's going to happen? The institutions are going to be positioned, and maybe something else. Who knows what it may be? And, you know, and that'll be the scapegoat. You know, it's all.
And then BlackRock be like, you know, but we sorted that out for you. We sorted your pension. Yeah, fuck Bitcoin, but we help you out, buddy. Get your digital ID, and we make sure you get your pension, because we
absolutely.
Got your back. Bitcoin
well,
doesn't.
yeah, we want to make sure you're made whole. We got to protect the American public here.
We thought it was all over when they printed 10 trillion, and then 20 trillion. That's it. Okay, now, I don't know how many trillion.
Get used to 50 trillion.
But there is no it.
Javier.
Yes,
Javier, it's at 34 right now, isn't it?
I have no. That's
maybe
what
more.
we're
Probably
showing.
35, right?
That's what we're showing.
But it's
clarity
like,
showed that it's probably double that.
It's probably like 1 T per month, almost, at least in the future as well.
Yeah.
So say that
is
we
there,
write
I
about
mean,
March, May 2025. Say for shits and giggles, we do May. And we're in November right now, right? And we're talking about May. So there's 18 more months. So there's 18 more T's on top of that 34. That's an increase of a little more than 50%.
That we're showing.
Yeah, over
That's
50 trillion.
50% increase of what we have right now. It's going to get a lot worse.
Okay, at what point do you go? The fiat currency is printed up to 150, 200 trillion, yet we are still at $70 Litecoin and 0.006 DigiByte and 30. I mean,
and $23 silver.
And $23 silver. Thank you.
No, I don't think so,
point,
because if they do need to restructure and rejigger everything, they're going to have to at least make people think they're winning and make people a part of that rising.
You could see it overnight, right? Vote. You could see a devaluation of the dollar of 25%, of the euro 50% overnight, and then the pensions fail. They have to, you know, everything is fucked. You have this everything bubble, but everyone needs money. We get this whole transition to a digital system, a CBDC, because that's ready. We got something on the backbone, boys. We got a life vest for you. Here, have that.
People are going to take whatever you throw at them, whatever little donut.
I'm going to sleep early, just in hopes that it happens tonight. I really do.
Hey,
Well, you
if,
dream
if
about hope, I dream about hope.
Betelgeuse gets blown up tonight by Elon's rocket, then it's going to happen.
I'm
tonight.
ready.
Let's go.
I'm ready for them to get that rocket and shove it up somebody's ass.
You
No,
mean that cum rocket again, Javier?
yeah. Let me know. I probably should be out there in Padre and watching it launch.
Watch something. Well, the firmament's going to get exploded through, and everything that's the water.
Lisa's spitting fire in the comment section, by the way.
Clint, we thought it would be ridiculous to see this kind of printing. It ain't ridiculous. Is it after the election? I mean, put it this way. I was talking to Dave about it. We've been waiting since, what was it? March. No, April. No. It's going to be the summer. No, it's June. July, August. We're going to get it in August.
Cycle.
And it's 1-1-1. It's 1-1, and then 11-11. And look, I understand. I do understand that they play by those rhythms, and we don't know the code to figure that out. But truly, and I'm not.
Hey, what's both?
I'm not waiting for it to happen this year or next year. But I know how disappointing is it, Clint, when Litecoin was supposed to hit. I truly believe it should have hit your numbers. And Wayne, I thought you were totally underestimating the damn.
Oh, I did too. But
I waited for.
It just wasn't, the price wasn't there.
Exactly.
At the time, and it's just at some point it will be, and I think when they open the floodgates, it will be, and then you'll see all these average Joes that I've been talking to that have some money. They're retired.
It's when people get discouraged with. When people get discouraged with Litecoin, they dump Litecoin. I already heard people F Litecoin. I'm going to go and put it in Pepe Coin. If I'm taking a risk, I'm going to take a risk. This thing doesn't.
I could have been up 50%. What the frick? What's wrong with me?
Terra Luna Plus.
Oh, woo! And yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can game that system, but the thing is, if it all falls apart, which I think we all feel like it will at some point, if it all gets restructured, rejiggered, and it goes into a different system and it's asset based, and you got to have real assets to back your butt up. I'll take Litecoin. I'll play that game because that's where I think
take my chances. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, because look at the alternatives that are out there.
Well, I know when it does run, and put it this way, it's already accepted. So whatever it's worth, it's worth. They wouldn't have put it there. They wouldn't have put.
The fundamentals
Bitcoin
are all there.
Cash.
It's just that why is the price not following the fundamentals? And that's
look
at the hash rate's like sky high right now, and everybody says, "Oh, price follows hash rate." Well, at some point,
because the American public doesn't realize that we're printing the shit out of it with nothing backing.
We need Tom Brady to come out and steer everybody the right way. We need the celebrities.
What about Taylor Swift?
They'll roll them all out at the right time, and then everybody's going to be like, "Oh, I got some Bitcoin. Yeah, man, my pension. I got Bitcoin."
Why you got to go there and not mention Taylor Swift?
Well, her too.
And who's she dating?
In the middle.
Yeah.
I gotta go get my new Kansas City Chiefs Kelsey jersey.
Yeah, it says Taylor Swift on it.
My Swift jersey.
Swift.
00. Swift.
And that's just here's put it this way. On Sunday.
Swift, like the Swift system, you mean? See, it's all tied together.
I hate the weekends because everybody's watching football, so nobody's doing any episodes. Very little spaces. I'm not a watcher of it. I stopped watching football when those fuckers started kneeling for the flag, right, wrong, or anything. To me, it was disrespectful. So fuck them. I'm not going to watch you. And that was my choice. But now I'm starved for info, so I got to call Dave and hope he ain't watching a fucking Saints game.
Dave, let's do a live stream. Come on, Dave, we'll do a live stream that nobody shows up then.
Like, I'm like, hey, me and you'll go at it. We're in a messed up situation, and we're in a messed up world right now, and I think we're all looking for these solutions. I'm impressed, and if the people in the Netherlands or in the EU are as advanced as Stake, dude, we're way behind. We're way behind. We are suppressed
We're
from
not-
information.
we're
We
not.
have
Come
to
on,
wait.
man. I got an infinity
we-
mortgage. I'm
That's
good.
that's the
We have
entire
to
thing
wait
I
a
disagree
week.
with. That's the
Well, no,
entire
but we
thing.
have to wait a week to get information that we should be telling you some of this shit, Steak. And I don't know. Is it maybe we don't look hard enough? I guess it's all there. It's all on the
Well,
internet.
who else has
But
put any of the information together?
well, it takes a village. I mean, how messed up is it that us four are placed together to be able to hash it out and
Javier,
get different perspectives?
look, I
Yeah,
have a
go ahead.
private life. I have a job. I
Really?
went through a lot of shit privately, and then I'm still retarded enough to autistically go into a deep dive for several days, for several years, hours a day, into finding this shit. And there's a lot of searches that went blank, and there's also some searches. So what do? Is I put a big list of things I found, and then I search them in combination with one another. So I got like Javier and Dave. So I searched for Javier and Dave, and I searched for Javier and Clint, and I searched for Javier and Steak, and I find something. And then I find a fifth thing, and then I run it through all the other things again, and I find another thing, and so on and so on. And eventually, all those data points, they create the contours of a big framework, of a big picture. And then you can start thinking, oh, this is the kind of thing that they're doing. Oh, who's doing that? Where are they doing that? What's the timeline on it? And then you can overlap timelines with one another, and you can look at what are these people actually doing. I've looked at so many resumes on LinkedIn, which is a very undervalued research tool, if you ask me. And even when people make posts on LinkedIn, you have other people liking it, business relations, and you're looking at it and you're like, holy fuck, do these guys know each other? It's like, oh, wow. And they don't tweet it on Twitter. It's a different social media thing. But you can find a lot of shit there. And I almost feel like a journalist with what I've been doing for the past couple of years. I'm not, but I feel like one. And when I look at like journalists, actual, they have a name for it, like deep diving journalists, right? Like investigative journalism, I think is the term.
Yeah.
If you look at what they are doing with digital identities and CBDCs, I get crickets. And I don't know if it's illegal to touch, if they're not allowed to do it, or if they are going to come with a very big story at some point. I don't know, but we all know that the media is owned, and they put out a narrative in order to sway public opinion. And we don't like to think that the media that we consume is not owned, but that's not true. Every media is owned. Everywhere there's a narrative. So you just got to have a very good personal filter. And I like to speak with people that also want to work on that filter, and then cross-check things with one another without going into that echo chamber or online whirlpool in social media and get sucked into like a tribal group. I want to be part of several so I can cross-check things between one another and not be biased, because I'm wrong at some parts. I like to be wrong. Please call me out on my shit. And I don't see it as a dent in my pride or as something that I, have to take a hit on my ego. It's we all make mistakes. So if I can have better information, I get better at it. So it's that whole phenomenon that makes it very difficult for people to consume media. And don't beat yourself up like in the US we should be telling you. See it as a testament of strength that the US has so much grip over their population that they tell you exactly what you need to know. They sway the public exactly where they want the public to be. And right now you're in the position that you're not allowed to know. Why? Because they're working it out behind the scenes and you're not allowed to interfere. You're not allowed to have a seat on the table or stand in the grass with your sign up that says fuck CBDCs. And you're not allowed to march with 10 million people to the Capitol. You're not allowed to actual march for real shit because they're figuring it out. And maybe there's a silver lining. I'm going to say something ballsy here with this public. Maybe they actually want to make a good thing happen with CBDCs and digital IDs. But the thing is, there's just so much risk involved that I don't think it can be good if there's no public debate about it, because it's that significant and it's that elaborate, and the ramifications are that far-fetched and far, intrusive in your daily life, that we should have a public discussion about it on how it will affect our lives and our transactions for everything. I mean, it's going to be so different. Suddenly, you shouldn't be spending more and leverage your debt and refinance. Suddenly, you should be staying within your budget and actually saving things to put it in an old sock for a rainy day. That's a complete change of mentality if you do that. So back to the US, I think it's a testament of strength that the US is still basically saying, well, even with this, state of affair in the world, we're still slowly ramping up. I mean, if I believe correctly, I heard from some guys in the US that your commercials are about the military are suddenly starting to become serious, right?
Well, there's supposedly going to be a draft.
There's no women and transgenders anymore in the commercials and advertisements for the military. So that's significant.
Welcome to the home of the free.
No, but that's a change, right? So there's a change there. Like, we're no longer fucking around.
Oh, but you know what, Steak? That isn't the majority, and for them to push that as an agenda, yeah, that's some stupid son of a fucking bitch that is pushing that agenda, and kind of like that beer commercial. Don't want to mention it right now, but yeah, this isn't. The people that were drinking that beer weren't all about what that commercial was about. But neither is our military. I mean, it's almost an insult that they do that.
I'll lay it out to you. So first they say we can't find enough people to draft. Then they say we have to go against woke because it's woke that caused the draft. Now I read an article today that says that senior veterans, old veteran families, military families are telling their offspring, don't go into the military. And,
sure.
and all of that is news. So don't believe it for a fact. Believe it for the fact that they're starting to create sympathy for the draft. Oh, these poor bastards can't draft enough. Oh, these poor bastards can't draft enough. And then suddenly there comes a pivot where in that sympathy that we're not yet there committed yet, but it's in the back of our head, this narrative that they can't get enough people. Suddenly there's going to be a narrative there full blown where all these young men enlist because you get benefits. And boom,
sure.
They're full of shit. And
you can buy a house. So, you maybe get paid enough to buy a house. You may get paid enough to. I understand that, Steak.
No, it's not that.
But here's the problem with that war. We are going to go to war to make somebody else rich.
It's not about it's not about the war. The topic at hand is about the influence of media and propaganda on the U.S. And it's the number one propaganda country in the world. And that's the reason why you can't find shit like this there, because it's just buried. It's buried, just fucking buried. And you get impulse. You got to have really good impulse control not to be swayed by the entertainment industry in the U.S. You really have to do, because you guys get fucked on a neurotoxin level,
like Spain.
Yeah, like Spain. You guys get fucked on a neurotoxin level with the food, and you just it's very difficult to go against the system in the U.S. It's very difficult. It's almost impossible.
No, we live it every day. There's a few of us that try to educate some of the others.
Yeah, but it's a testament.
I know, Clint does a great job. Dave does a great job.
It's a testament of its strength. And you just about now see the U.S., well, maybe we should start to become a little bit more serious. But it's still not going, it's still not working like with clockwork. You still got a president that's just mumbling like, oh, yeah. Do you know how much of a spit in the face that is for the rest of the world? Like, everyone is on edge for World War III, and the U.S. is like, yeah, we got shit so much under control. We've got a demented 81-year-old, spewing nonsense.
How embarrassing.
That's how really, you guys. I mean,
what
you
do
got
you think?
Blair back in England, two old guys to set the shit in England.
Yeah. I was gonna till you mentioned that. I was gonna go. What do y'all really think of goddamn the idiot we have that falls down all the time? I can't read those. I don't know if you can read them, Clint. They're really
Yeah, the Spain
small.
comment about the freedom in Spain that we don't have here. People are marching in the streets in Spain. Yeah, of course they are. Because there's
You
a
know
lot of
what?
shit.
Why aren't we seeing this in our media? Because we're not allowed to see it. We're being protected. We're very soft-skinned people, I guess. And you know what? We're not hearing what the hell is truly going
It's
on.
not soft skin. You're just not allowed to have an opinion that's outside of the US interest.
Welcome to the home of the free, like I said. Welcome to the home of the free. I mean, come on. Let me be the person that
The only
decides
freedom you
whether
have,
it's too offensive.
here's the
We
thing,
don't.
Javier. The only thing you say, for example, you have 1 to 10, and the borders of what we allow are 3 to 7. You're not allowed to have opinion 1, 2, 8, 9, or 10. You're not. So that won't be in the news. Only 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are in the news. And the rest with an outside opinion, you're not.
Well, let's take, but you have to understand people like me, maybe Clint, maybe Dave, go and look at California in a situation where we have a person that we know what he's done. We feel that we know where he's headed, and he's welcome into part of our country, almost paraded. We actually cleaned up some of California to have this person in here. That doesn't tell you something. That doesn't tell you that he's part of, and it was publicized. So it doesn't tell you that he has influence on some of our part of our country. And it's not that it should have been avoided. It's the way it was brought out. It's the news. I mean, the reason I'm giving, I don't watch TV, but the reason I'm getting it is because, oh, they cleaned up California. They got rid of the homeless population. What do you think? That's fair to the people that were already living on the street and had their life set up? I mean, you talk about you want to help the people so we probably rounded them up, kind of like during like we did the Japanese during World War II and put them in the concentration camps, the American Japanese. Is that what we did with them? And we don't cover that. We only cover that this son of a bitch came over to her. And like I said, I don't know. Maybe he's a good guy. I don't keep up with the politics. You'd have to ask someone like Lisa. But to me, it's very frustrating that they have us so freaking distracted. We have the smart people. You know what I'm going to tell you? I talk to Dave just about every day, and we still beat up the different angles of the coin. But maybe he's just not talking to me about some of the stuff that you're talking about, and he does that with you, but because it's over my head. But there are people that are getting that information, and Clint is breaking that information.
We share everything, Javier. We don't hold anything back.
Well, then I kind of like that. You know, I want to be in an area that you know what? I want
to be with winners.
I want the truth, and let me decide, and let my money decide. But right now, Clint says this all the time, or has said it in the past. Let your money decide who you support. Well, right now, indirectly, you go, well, you know what? I'm not going to support this company. So you go over here, who's actually buying it from that company that you didn't want to support in the first place, and you're paying more over here, thinking you're not supporting it. And so it's a circle jerk.
You mean when the US was tanking with their battleships in Greece, and the oil that they used from Greece was bought from Turkey that bought it from Russia? That was fun.
I mean, come on. We know about Gaddafi. I mean, we accidentally know about our history. We accidentally, because there's some people that have looked hard enough, but we get over it. We get over our tragedies. Take a look at something with I don't know, is it 9/11 or 11/9? I don't even want to mention it. We're over it now. There was a time we were all ready to go and beat the shit out of somebody, and now
Javier, 9/11 will make a comeback once the everything bubble bursts, because people will be looking for answers, and they'll be saying, we had the subprime mortgages, they fucked us. And what happened that day before 9/11?
Yeah.
What happened that day before 9/11 that no one talks about?
What, Rumsfeld?
There was
How many
a
trillion
$3
vanished?
trillion
It was like 2.3 trillion or
mil-
something. Missing.
yeah, 2.3 trillion military unexplained expense that
Hey, we
happened
need
to
give
be in
them
the
more. We
room
gotta fight
that the
terrorists.
Pentagon
They need
hit,
more money.
that Rumsfeld left it. He left it in that room, and that plane ran
Yeah, but
into that
Javier,
exact room.
Javier, it's what I mean is it's those amounts, tremendous amounts of money, especially back in that day. If you
Yeah,
if you look at the if you rewind the picture and you look at like the money supply and the inflation, and when the bubble bursts, people will look back at that again, and they'll look at 9/11, be like, son of a bitch, the day before this happened. And I
You know what?
remember when the '08, I was old enough to go through that, when the '08 subprime mortgage bubble crashed. I remember that at least a couple of days and weeks after, people were asking for the heads of the bankers. Like people were asking for heads, right?
You know what
And
we should be asking now, and we
What do
should
you-
have asked shortly, is we lost our freedom. And as soon as you
Javier, we
start
never
losing
had
your freedom,
to
you're
begin
fucked.
with. We never had
Yeah,
freedom to
no,
begin with.
you're probably right. We
Yeah,
only
like
assumed
Janis
we had
Joplin.
freedom.
But what I
think
mean is,
freedom's just
what do you
another word.
think?
Nothing
What
left
do you
to
think
lose.
happens when you lose everything?
You lose it.
Yeah, you lose it. That's exactly. You don't corner an animal. You don't corner a wild animal. You don't want to be anywhere near a wild animal and have it cornered. It's a very dangerous
I think we
situation,
should
and I
bring
think that's
Lisa
what they're
into the
doing to
show.
us.
I think Lisa's typing like mad right now behind her keyboard.
Oh, I know, and I
She's
can't
bringing
read
her in
it.
the show.
Somebody's got to put a. It's so
I hope
little
she's
in the
got voice to
letters.
text because she's spitting facts.
Send her a damn link. Send her
Yeah,
a link,
Lisa, you
Dave.
wanna come in?
I'd love to. Yeah, hey, she's got a different perspective, man. I'm
Hey, we need all the perspectives we can get.
yeah. We're running out.
There's
We're running
truth
out of
everywhere.
exactly. I
But
don't
all
know if
I'm
she'll come
saying,
on, but it'd be great if she did.
I think
Yeah.
what I struggle with the most, really, I struggle with it is that anticipation of whether I'm going to make money, and the second thing is if I do, it's going to be at the cost for other people. I'm going to be making money while other people are hurt. I'm basically hedging
Yeah.
against the fact that the economy is going to shit.
Yeah.
I think the economy is going to shit. I think it's a given. I think it's not that far ahead. And when I'm celebrating, when I look at my portfolio, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. I can
Yeah,
probably
you're gonna know there's a lot of people that are hurt.
in my line
We
of work.
are.
In my line of work, I meet these people.
I'm
So on the
probably
one
one
hand,
of them.
I'll be
I'd be one of them.
celebrating, and on the other hand, I'll be seeing the damages immediately the day after. That's going to be an interesting perspective.
Of course.
I'm probably going to quit my job then.
But this is history. This is history repeating itself. And stake out, like I said, it's. I see the big hearts and I see the big people trying to
Love
help,
you too, Lisa.
and I want to, but if we haven't been able to help the people around us right now to understand, what makes you think we're going to go to people when they're absolutely starving? And maybe that's what it takes. When they're starving, they will
Well,
totally understand the value of
they know. Look,
Litecoin and the value of DigiByte.
the only hope that I see is that the people in power know that the current system is at its end.
Good. Yeah, I think so too, Steak. I mean, I do. I hope for for the posterity, for your kids and Clint's kids and their grandkids and everything else, that there is a change in time to where we start healing the overspending, God dang it, and nobody knew. I mean, who do you blame? Do you really blame us for being led into the wrong direction? We just thought
No.
we had a 10-year mortgage, then we had a 15-year mortgage, then we've had a 30, now it's a 50-year mortgage. What the fuck? It doesn't matter.
Here's the thing. It's not about a blame game. That's the entire problem. The thing is that if you're a low-level thug, you get a higher punishment for a smaller crime than when you're a prolific thug that did a lot more. You get a smaller punishment or no punishment for a very elaborate crime. Is it so weird to ask for life in jail, or in some states even more, for people that instigate this? I mean, if there's no look, I know that if you have a fractional banking system since 1971, that you left the gold standard, that it is inevitable that you print, and I also know that it's inevitable that it's going to crash. I mean, it's just embedded in the system. So that seems to be unfair to put anyone into jail over that, because it's going to happen. But what we could do is we could have a better means of actually punishing people that prey on society. And we know that the banking world is full of it. And
you mean a fair system? Is that what you're talking about? I think that's what Barry was supposed to be all about.
I'm not talking about a fair system. I'm talking about a fairer system. Like, where do we uphold the standard where we say, this goes, this doesn't go. And when we look at, for example, at Sam Bankman-Fried, it's a very clear and cut case.
Yeah.
Why isn't the guy going into prison for life?
Well, yeah, we all know that, because he went and visited Gary Gensler 16 times. That's why.
What about the guys?
He knows where the bodies are buried, and nobody's smart enough to see that.
If he knows where the bodies are buried, just put him into jail for life and be done with it.
Well, then you have to put Gary Gensler in jail, because my thing is, who profited? I want to know who profited. The exchange profited. Okay, there were other people that profited. Where did the Bitcoin go?
BlackRock and JP
Nobody's asked where the Bitcoin went. Nobody asked where the Ethereum went.
BlackRock and JP Morgan profited.
Yeah, of course.
And Elizabeth Warren.
The money went to Ukraine.
Elizabeth Warren.
And the prices that went up due to the scarcity due to the war, for example, with grain, the companies that were leveraged in that prior to that were JP Morgan and BlackRock. They profited.
Well, let me tell you who profited in 9/11. Jamie Dimon. Let me tell you who profited in 2008. Jamie Dimon. You know what? At what point do we go, he's not my hero? Let me ask you this. How many people are banked into Chase right now? It's because we know that the system, it doesn't, what do you want me to do, Javier? What the hell do you want me to do? Take my money all out of the bank? How do I pay I understand. I understand the scenario. I'm one of those people in those scenarios.
Javier, it's exactly this reason, and this reason precisely, why I don't understand gun laws.
Because you don't live in a free world?
No.
That's an equalizer, brother. And to understand that, you would have to live in a society where, you know what, you would understand this if you were at home and 3 people came into your house and attacked one of your loved ones, and you had nothing but your dick in your hand, you would understand, because you're not going to take on those 3 people.
That's not my point.
I know, but
my point is, the guns are fine. It just depends on who you point them at. But I see a subliminal message from Blinddave, and he put up his 15K DigiByte again. If you want to be a future millionaire, subscribe. Right?
No shit.
Yep.
Yeah. We're at 2 minutes, guys. I mean, hey, this has been a great conversation. Like I said, always gets kind of deep. I loved it. I mean, we went all over the place. Hell, we started pretty early. But
cheers.
I hope people enjoyed.
Cheers. Hang on tight.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think
Get your
something's coming.
assets. Get your assets. Have assets. Quit having debt-based things that you think are assets. Get assets. And there's one right there on the screen.
Yeah, CYA. Cover your
Yeah.
assets.
Oh, yeah.
You gonna take us out, Dave, or you gonna let Steak take us out? Or
Well, I didn't know if y'all had any other closing words.
no, I'm good. And Steak, you
I'm good.
got any more? We beat this up quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear the replay of how this went. But on screen, look, I've got a giveaway going on. So get me to 1,000 subscribers, so that way I can see what the numbers are with YouTube, because we have the hours. So I figured to me it was worth $100. Right now it's $118 is 15,000 DigiByte. Set that aside to do as a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. So hit the subscribe button, share this video, get it out there, enjoy. Can't wait to see what this is gonna turn into, by the time we hit 1,000 subscribers. So that'll be interesting.
About 6 years from now. About 6 years from now.
Never know.
No, they're moving up. You picked up what? You picked up like, how many did you pick up?
He's picking them up.
64 now?
Yeah, something. Yeah, 464.
And they'll drop them down. That's it. 900 is that special, Mark. Back.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know what? Like this video, unsubscribe and resubscribe to play with the algorithms within YouTube. So, and make a comment down below.
Yep, that
Same
helps.
thing. Type 1 if you think we're all flipping nuts. Type 2 if you think we're on to something.
There you go.
And type 3 if you don't care.
And type 4 if you want to speak to the manager.
Yeah.
That's Lisa? Is that Lisa? I have no idea. Guys, it's getting crazy. We've been all drinking, so it's all up to you. Chloe, take us out, Dave. You've done a good job with that.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of y'all for stopping by and showing up. Hopefully, we can earn your subscription. And with that, y'all go make it a day. Love you all. Later.